Hello, we're back for part 2 in the extended version for the AutoHotkey GUI tutorial number 3, where we're looking at the edit box and all the things that we can do with it. I've literally just pressed stop on my recorder and start again, so if you're coming right from the last video, you're right with me. Okay, so the last one we added in our horizontal scroll, so let me see my notes, what I have next. Okay, next what I have written is we're going to look at read only. So a lot of the times you're going to want to have your edit box as just a way for you to tell the user instructions or to display information for them to be able to read, but you don't want them to be able to erase it and you don't want them to be able to alter it. So the way you can prevent somebody from accidentally, so let's say this is crucial instructions about something and then they accidentally have it highlighted and they type a key. Okay, so they accidentally type a key and oh no, it erased everything. Right? So to prevent them from being able to actually do anything like that, all you need to do is in your options, just type in read only, all one word, and there we go. So we got some text now, so that way we can show that they can't do that. Okay, so we have our text. I have it highlighted. I press a key and I can't erase it. I go to try to type other things. I can't do anything. So this is read only. So the person can only read it. They can't alter it, edit it, blah, blah, blah. Easy peasy. So let's move on to the next thing. Next thing is want tab. Okay, for me to do this, let me clear up some of this stuff. Let me add those rows. Okay. So what I'm going to need now is a button, or well, I just need another control, but I'm going to use a button. GUI add button, and just so that I don't have to change its size, I'm going to type something on it. Okay, so we have a button. Okay, so now if you're familiar with working with Windows Form applications or things like that, normally if you press the tab key, all it does is it moves it from one control to the next control. So for example, so right now I have the edit box as the control that I'm currently in, and if I press tab, it jumps down to the button. I know it's difficult to see, but the blue, it is highlighted now. I can jump back to the edit box and then back to the button, back to the edit box. Right, so this is what tab normally does. Now for this part, there's two options, and I suggest you do the do nothing option. So what if instead of the tab key jumping from one control to the next, instead you want it to actually add space in between your text? So you know how when you press tab, it gives me some space, so I can actually do some stuff, right? It gives me predetermined amount of space in between blah, 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 blah. So what if I wanted to do that within my edit field? The do nothing option is all you have to do is press the control button plus tab. And now your tab key works like it normally would. And then when you go back to pressing tab the other way, it goes like that. The do something option, which I don't recommend, but it does exist, so I'll show you it, is in the options. What you can do is type in want tab, all is one word, save it, play, and now when you press tab, it'll tab over space. But you can't do the reverse of the do nothing option. So I can't press control plus tab to now jump to the button. So like I said, the do nothing option where you don't do anything, you just hold control plus tab is in my opinion the better option to go. But if you want to make it so that way, all you have to do is just press tab. All you have to do is type want tab into your options, and that is it. Okay, so easy peasy. This one is going to take a minute. Okay, want return. Now, in what tutorial was it? I think it was if statements. If you watch the if statements tutorial, throughout that we use the input box. And normally, so let's assume that this is the area in the input box where we actually type in. There was also a button underneath it that said OK, but I didn't actually have to press that button. All I had to do was press enter, and that OK button would get executed automatically. And that's because that OK button was assigned as the default button. So I'm going to show you how to make it so that way if somebody's typing something in here, if they press enter, it's going to execute that default button. So what we're going to do is in our button over here, we're going to do in its options, we're going to type in default. Default, I'm going to get rid of this want tab. Default, and then I need a label. And if you watched the tutorial on buttons, which I assumed you did, you would know what I am doing. Okay, so I'm just going to call this but1 just to be simple. And I'll get into this in a few minutes. I'll get into that whole label naming thing in a few minutes, but I'm not going to dwell on that just yet. Okay, so I have the call to the label. Now I need the label itself. Button 1, I need my colon. Okay, and all we're going to do is we are going to have a message box. Now the reason why we're using a message box is just because it's an easy way to actually see that something is happening. Right? I mean, you get a box there displayed on the screen. I mean, it's pretty easy to see. Okay. So now I have this button is assigned as the default button. And what if I want, so like I said, let's say you want to set up a edit box where all they have to do is they type in their information and then they press enter. They don't need to press anything. They don't need to do anything like that. In fact, they don't even have to need to do a lot of things. Okay, so you can actually have the button hidden, blah, blah, blah. But let's just leave it like this. Okay, so we want it to execute that default button, but right now it's not going to do that. So here I am. I type in my information. I press enter, and instead of it executing that button, what it's actually done is just drop me down to the next line. So if I want it to actually make it so that way it executes that button, what I do in my edit is I type minus want return. Is it want return? I'm pretty sure it's want return. I'm just going to use, yeah, want return. Okay, there it is. Okay, so there we go. So now what it's going to do is rather than dropping down to the next line, it's actually going to execute our button that has been defined as the default. So remember before when we pressed enter, all it did was drop down to the next line. This time it should give us our message box. And there we go. Okay, so that is the want return. All right, let's get this cleared up. Okay, I think I can leave everything like it is for the next thing. Okay, so that's want return. Let me see where I am. 8 minutes. Okay, I think I have enough time for this. Okay, this one's a little bit more complicated, but it is incredibly, incredibly useful for those of you that are going to be doing any kind of presentation of information in a table or anything like that. So what you're going to want to do is set up tab stops. So that's what we're going to be doing with this. We're going to be setting up tab stops, and in order for me to do that, what I need to do is I'm going to get rid of the X and the Y. I'm going to get rid of the X and the Y so that way it puts it up here in the corner, and that way I can increase the size, because we're going to need a bigger edit field in order for this to be displayed properly, or for you to be able to see it properly. I'm going to change it to 400 width, and I'm going to change its rows to 20. Just a nice big old edit box. And our button, let's drop that a few. And I'm going to change this. Actually, let's just comment that out. Let me see. And we will go, sorry, just trying to set it up so that way you can see what we're going to be doing a lot easier. And okay, there we go. Okay, so let's say that I'm making a table. So you know, you have your normal table. So I have something like, I'll have a column for the name of something or the ID of something, and then I'll have another column for the, you know, its price or the amount of quantity that we have or whatever. Now, different fields or different categories are going to have different amount of space requirements, right? So the name of something might be a 10-digit number. So the most amount of space that we're going to need for it each time is 10 spaces. And then the next column could be, let's say, 12 spaces over instead of, so we'll have 10 spaces for the name or the ID, and then we'll have 2 white spaces, and then the next column will be something that takes up X amount of space, and then we'll have some space in between that. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that way all we have to do is press tab and it automatically takes us over into that next column. So the way we do that is there's 2 ways we can do it. We can do it where we set up where it's constantly the same tab space between one column and the next. So in that we just type T and let's go with 30. So we'll tab 30 pixels. I think it's pixels. I'm pretty sure. It definitely is not characters. I don't know what exactly it is. It could be pixels. It could be some other way that they define it, but it's definitely not characters. But we're going to set our tab stop to 30. Then in here, what we're going to do is we're going to actually type in some information. So let's say we had name. And I'm not very good at thinking on the spot, so rather than me trying to figure out different kinds of columns that we want, I'm just going to use numbers. So the next one is going to be called 1. Then we're going to tab over again, and it's going to be 2, and then we're going to tab over again. So what do we want? We want 4. So we have 1, 2, 3. So there we go. Okay. And I'll show you out like this. So here we go. We have 4 different columns, and if I drop down to the next line and type in the information, and then if I press, because remember we don't have that want tab in place, we actually have to press Control tab. So I'm going to press Control tab and it automatically puts me into that line. I press Control tab again, puts me into that line, and so on. Right? And then if I can continue filling in my information. And I can have the program do this automatically. I can have it set up by using variables, or have it run through loops, have it assigned to arrays and things like that. So I'm not going to go into like how you make a table. I might eventually come into something like that way down the road, but you don't have to. It's not about your user actually filling this in. I mean, you can make it so that they do fill it in just like how I'm doing right now, but there is obviously ways that you can automatically have a table built. Okay, so this is with a set tab stop for all of them, but like I said, certain things are going to need more space than other things. So the way we're going to set it up this time is we're going to have individual tab stops. So our first one is going to be 30, which is going to be this 1. So this 1 is going to be set to 30. And how it works with when we're using only one individual one is it takes the space between the first character of the thing before it. So for here it's right here, and it's 30, and then it goes from here to 30, and then from here to here another 30. When we do it individual, like we're going to be doing now, it's always going to work off of the first position here. So this would be 30, this would be 60, this would be 90. Okay? If we were doing the exact same thing as we're doing here. but we're not. We're going to do something different. So the first one's going to be 30. So our one column is going to be, our name's going to be in the same spot. Our one's going to be in the same spot. But we want our 2 to be further over. So what we're going to do is we're going to have tab 99. And then our last one, we're going to have tab 133. Okay, so there we go. We have our first position, our second position, our third position, and our last position. Okay, we'll save it and have a look. And there we go. And like I said, you can play around with these values to put your columns however you need them to be, but you can make some nice tables now. Okay, so that is the tab stop, and we're up to 15 minutes. I got enough time for something else quick. Okay, so I don't think I need to go further into this. Just play around with it and you'll get the hang of it in no time. Let's see. Next, what we're going to do is uppercase, lowercase. Okay, if you know anything about programming languages or things like that, this one here is actually in the computer. It's actually just a bunch of ones and zeros, and the order of these ones and zeros determines a numerical value, and the first couple of digits to the left will tell the computer like what kind of program that's using it, what those kind of things mean. Then it'll get down to, is it a negative or a positive number, and then finally the ones that are to the right, the rightmost, or the least significant digits. I think that's how you say it. The least significant digits, the ones that are to the right, just to the right, rather just to the left of a normal decimal place, they're actually going to be the ones that hold the numerical value. And all of our numbers, our letters, and that, they're assigned a numerical value. So now I'm not going to go into the ASCII table. I don't remember. I really don't remember all the codes. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that if I take the letter A equals a numerical value of 67. Okay, I don't think it is. It might. Hey, if I got lucky with that, man, that's great. But it doesn't matter. So let's say that the lowercase a has a numerical value of ones and zeros that equal out to the number 67. The uppercase one actually has, is it lower or higher? I think it's lower. So the uppercase a actually has a numerical value that is the lowercase a minus 30. I don't remember. I'm ashamed that I don't remember. Let's say 36. So it's whatever the value of the uppercase a minus 36. So it actually has a value. In this case, it would be a value of 31. So I already know that this is I'm way off. But anyways, this just demonstrates the kind of things that goes on with the computer. So a lowercase a is not the same value as an uppercase. So in your program, there might be a reason why you need the values to always be the same. So you need, if the person's typing in an A, you don't want to have to convert it within your program, or you don't want to have any problems with your program. So the easiest way to do that is make it so that way when they input data here, no matter if they put in uppercase or lowercase, it's automatically going to convert it to one or the other. And the way you can do that is in our edit options, we just specify what we want it to be. So we can do lowercase and run that. And even if I type in, even if I have the cap lock on, I cannot type uppercase. So for example, here. So obviously this L is in uppercase, and if I go to paste it into here, it converted it to a lowercase. Okay, so all my characters are going to be the same. I have no problems with it understanding anything. And I can do the same in reverse. I can do uppercase. Okay, and everything gets converted to uppercase. So once again, I'll copy that, paste it in, and everything gets converted to uppercase. Okay, so I think we will end this one here, and we will come back and we'll work on numbers only and continue on. Alright, hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button if you want to see more of these, and I will see you in the